Any of us can, at some point, love even the worst movies from a franchise because we have sworn loyalty to it and we refuse to take off our pink glasses to recognize that these films are nothing more than pale imitations of a brand which was once synonymous with quality. And yet, there are times when we are able to do it, able to take off our pink glasses and recognize that a character has been completely butchered by the studios, as it was the case with Batman and Robin. Of course, the point of this series of video essays is not to point out which Batman movies are good and which of them are bad, as it's not throwing flowers at those who are already revered or to overkill those who have already been murdered by the critics. So for this episode, I squeezed the film as much as possible so that I could come up with some good things to say about it. Welcome to Frank Movie Talks, I'm Frank, and today I'm going to explore Batman and Robin.
I love Batman. All those muscles, the tight rubber armor, and that flashy car. I heard it can drive up walls.
Yeah, sure, Joel.
A lot of people blame Joel Schumacher's homosexuality for the Bat-Nipples and Bat-Buttocks, but this is an extremely homophobic criticism, considering that the people expressing this opinion never address the fact that Zack Snyder's fetish for muscular men surpasses that of Schumacher without causing the same indignation. In fact, Schumacher had instructed that the costumes of Batman and Robin needed to look like Greek statues, and it makes perfect sense. Greek statues are not representations of individuals, but of ideals, exactly what Bruce and Dick seek to become when they put on their costumes. And if he didn't do it for Batgirl, if he didn't sexualize her as much, it's probably because female bodies are already constantly sexualized in movies. The film finally shows Bruce Wayne becoming a father figure to Robin as well as Batgirl, as he also needs to deal with Alfred's mortality and the idea that he may soon become the senior member of the family, a theme that leads to Michael Gough, who plays Alfred for the last time, as well as to the movie, some of his best scenes.
Death and chance stole your parents. But rather than become a victim, you have done everything in your power to control the fates. For what is Batman, if not an effort to master the chaos that sweeps our world? An attempt to control death itself.
But I can't, can I?
None of us can.
I love you, old man.
And I love you too.
The three adversaries Batman faces in the film are the opposite of what they are in the comics or how they were portrayed in the animated series. While it had made Mr. Freeze a tragic character, here he is making puns.
The Iceman cometh.
Allow me to break the ice.
All right, everyone, chill.
And conducting karaoke's.
Come on, sing. Louder, come on, sing, sing, sing. Come on. Yes, come on, louder.
Bane has gone from a strategist who had inferred Batman's identity to a brainless bully. And Poison Ivy has gone from being a feminist eco-terrorist to a jealous woman who thinks Mr. Freeze's plan to freeze the planet is compatible with the floral paradise she wants to create.
Once you have frozen mankind, these babies will overrun the globe.
That being said, just as Walter Peck was right to criticize the environmental impact of the technology used by the Ghostbusters, Pamela Isley is right to criticize the obsession the Wilties have with space when they could use their fortunes to save the planet.
Forget the stars. Look here at the Earth, our mother, our womb. She deserves your loyalty and protection. And yet, you spoil her lands, poison her oceans, blacken her skies. You're killing her.
Batman and Robin protect us.
Unlike the previous three films, the opponents in Batman and Robin seem straight out of a sci-fi, if not a fantasy movie, when it comes to Poison Ivy. With their plans to transform the planet's climate and dominate the world, and their ability to do so, they look more like mad gods than urban criminals. From this point of view, Arkham Asylum, on the top of its continually stormy hill, might be reminiscent of Mount Olympus. The comparison might seem far-fetched, but this wouldn't be the first time it's made.
This is truly Olympus. Surely it can be no other place. There's beautiful Demeter, goddess of the harvest. And double-faced Janus, lord of beginnings and endings. And merry Hermes, the trickster of the gods. Now at last, mighty Zeus is home.
But if we compare Arkham Asylum to Olympus, what does that make of Batman? Well, Batman, the eternal superhero without superpowers, seems then invested with a very Nietzschean mission in accordance with his status of Superman. He must use science and technology to send the gods home and give back to humans the power to decide their own fate, just like the Ghostbusters. Come on! What is my problem with Ghostbusters? I'm gonna have to call someone about that, but who am I gonna call?
Ghostbusters!
During the shooting of the film, the producers were so impressed by what they saw that they were preparing a sequel with Scarecrow, already introduced in the form of an urban race organizer played by Coolio, and Harley Quinn, which was reportedly reimagined for the occasion as the daughter of the Joker and Alicia. And it was indeed Scarecrow who was the opponent of Batman in the next film, but Coolio had to give way to Cillian Murphy, just as Billy Dee Williams had to give up the role of Two-Face to Tommy Lee Jones before him. I know it's basically racist to replace a black actor with a white actor as soon as the character becomes important. Right, Lavender Brown? But in this case, it makes for a weirdly and ironically anti-racist situation, since it seems Jonathan Crane and Harvey Dent didn't become criminals until they went white. But there it is, maybe I'm pushing a bit too far, which means it's time to finish this episode. Batman and Robin was so bad that Warner Brothers abandoned their plans to produce a sequel with Scarecrow and Harley Quinn. Joel Schumacher offered the studio a more serious reboot inspired by Batman Year One, but the producers did the same thing they did to Terry Gilliam after he offered to adapt Harry Potter. They gave his idea to someone else. What about you? Are there other elements you enjoy in Batman and Robin? Say it in the comments. I will soon get into Nolan's trilogy, but right before that, I'll make a little stop once again in the animated cinema. To make sure you don't miss anything, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and like the video to show your support.